Before you quit trucking to become a freight broker, I want you to watch this video first, because the decision could become one of the smartest moves you ever made, or it could turn into a very expensive mistake. A lot of truck drivers look at freight brokers and think, man, these guys are sitting back at a desk, making phone calls, posting loads, and making money without dealing with traffic or the DOT or breakdowns or bad weather or being away from home. And I get it. After years on the road, freight brokerage can look like the perfect next move. You already understand freight. You already know lanes. You already know carriers. You already know what makes a load good, bad, or ugly. So naturally you think, why not become a broker? But here's the truth. Being a truck driver can absolutely give you an advantage as a freight broker, but it doesn't automatically make you a successful freight broker. Because freight brokerage is not just about knowing trucks, it's a sales business, it's a relationship business, and it's a problem-solving business. And if you don't understand that before you quit trucking, you may jump out of one hard business and land right into another one that's harder than you expect. So in this video, I'm going to show you the advantages truck drivers have, the biggest mistakes to avoid, and how to make the transition the smart way. And make sure you stay until the end, because I'll give you a free cheat sheet called How to Become a Freight Broker in 7 Simple Steps. Okay, let's start with the obvious. Why do so many truck drivers think about becoming freight brokers? Number one, they're tired. Tired of being away from home, tired of sleeping in a truck, tired of bad dispatchers and slow shippers and slow receivers, tension and breakdowns and bad weather and traffic and all the stress that comes with life on the road. Number two, as a driver, you're often reacting to the load, the broker, the dispatcher, the shipper, the receiver, and the market. Freight brokerage looks like a way to get on the other side of that table. Instead of chasing loads, you're finding freight. Instead of being told what something pays, you're negotiating the deal. Instead of moving one truck at a time, you could potentially manage multiple loads, multiple customers, and multiple carriers. Number three, they see the income potential. And yes, freight brokerage has real income potential. I built my own freight brokerage from scratch and eventually did over 200 million in sales. So I'm not here to tell you the opportunity isn't real. It is real. But I'm here to tell you it's not automatic, and it's definitely not easy money. Now here's the good news. If you're a truck driver, you already have some advantages that a complete beginner doesn't have. You understand what happens on the road. You understand pickup appointments and delivery appointments and loading delays and unloading delays and detention and layovers, and fuel costs and deadhead miles, hours of service, bad directions to a shipper that clearly hasn't seen a truck in 10 years. That matters, because a lot of brand new brokers look at freight like it's just numbers on a screen. But you know it's more than that. You know what it feels like to show up on time and wait 6 hours. You know what it feels like when the appointment gets pushed and nobody wants to pay attention. You know what it feels like when someone says it's only 50 miles, but those 50 miles are through traffic, tolls, and nowhere to park. That's real world experience that you can build trust with carriers. It can help you communicate better. It can help you avoid rookie mistakes. It can help you understand why some loads are harder to cover than others. This is a real advantage. But here's the warning. That advantage only helps if you combine it with the right broker skills. Because knowing the trucking side and knowing how to build a brokerage are not the same thing. So let me ask you this. If you're a truck driver watching this right now, what's the biggest reason you're thinking about becoming a freight broker? Is it more time at home, more income potential, getting off the road, starting your own business, or maybe you just want to understand how the other side of the business works? Drop your answer in the comments below. I'd really like to know where you're coming from, because a lot of my students started as truck drivers or came from trucking families, and their reasons are not always the same. The biggest mistake I see truck drivers make when they try to become freight brokers is they assume that because they understand trucking, they automatically understand brokerage. But those are two different businesses. As a driver, your main job is to move the load safely and on time. As a broker, your main job is to find customers, win freight, solve problems, manage carriers, protect your margins, and keep everybody informed. That means you need a different skill set. You need to know how to prospect. You need to know how to talk to shippers. You need to know how to price freight and vet carriers. And you need to know how to handle objections and follow up. And most importantly, you need to know how to sell. That's where a lot of truck drivers get blindsided. Not because they aren't smart, not because they don't work hard. Truck drivers are some of the hardest working people in the world. The problem is that sales is usually not what they've been trained to do. They've been trained to drive and deliver and manage their clock and handle equipment, deal with inspections, and get the load there safely and on time. But calling shippers, starting sales conversations, building trust, and asking good questions, and winning new business is not. That's a different game. And if you skip that part, freight brokerage gets frustrating very quickly. Now let's talk about something very important. Do not quit trucking too soon. I know that may not be what you want to hear, but I'd rather tell you the truth than tell you what sounds good. If you're still depending on your trucking income to pay your bills, don't assume you can quit Friday and be making money as a broker on Monday. That's not how this business works for most people. Freight brokerage takes time to build. You need time to learn. You need time to decide whether you're going to be a broker or an agent. You need time to pick a niche. You need time to build a prospect list and contact shippers and build relationships. You need time to win your first customer. And then, even after you get that customer, you still need to move the freight, invoice correctly, collect the money, pay the carriers, and keep the customer happy. So my advice is simple. Start learning while you're still earning. Don't put yourself in a position where you're desperate for brokerage income before you even understand how the business works. Desperation makes people do dumb things. They take bad freight, they work with bad customers, they underprice loads, they use risky carriers, and they make promises they can't keep. And they quit too early because they thought it would happen faster. You want to transition with a plan, not with a panic. Another thing you need to think about is whether you should become a freight broker or a freight agent, because those are not exactly the same. If you become a freight broker, you're starting your own brokerage. That means you get your own broker authority, your bond, your process agent, your systems, your contracts, carrier setup process, shipper setup process, accounting, and operating procedures. You get more control, but you also get more responsibility. If you become an independent freight agent, you work under an existing freight brokerage, typically as a 1099 agent. You operate under their authority, their bond, their back office, and their systems. That can be a smart path for truck drivers who want to learn the business, sell, and move freight without taking on every responsibility day one. I'm not saying one is better than the other. It depends on your goals, your expectations, your experience, your finances, and your risk tolerance. But a lot of truck drivers should at least consider starting as a freight agent before starting a brokerage. Why? Because it lets you focus on the most important skill first, getting customers. And whether you become a freight broker or an agent, that skill matters most. Here's the part nobody talks about enough. The real business is not posting loads. It's not finding trucks. The real business is getting shippers. Without shippers, you don't have freight. Without freight, you don't have loads. Without loads, you don't have revenue. And without revenue, you don't have a business. A lot of people think they're going to start a brokerage, get access to a load board, and somehow the money starts moving. That's not how it works. Load boards help you find trucks. They don't magically give you profitable customers. Your job is to find businesses that ship freight and convince them you can help them solve a problem. Maybe that problem is poor communications. Maybe it's service failures. Maybe it's hard to cover lanes. Maybe it's inconsistent capacity. Or their current broker is dropping the ball. But you need to find the problem before you can be the solution. That's why I always tell people, don't just learn how to start a freight brokerage. Learn how to sell freight brokerage services. Those are not the same thing. Now, here's where your trucking background can really help. When you talk to shippers, you can bring a perspective that a lot of brokers don't have. You can say, hey, I've been on the carrier side, so I understand actually what happens after the load gets booked. Or, hey, I know where communications usually breaks down between brokers and carriers and shippers. Or maybe something like, I understand how small delays can turn into big service problems if nobody's managing the load properly. That kind of positioning can help you stand out. But be careful. Don't make your entire pitch about being a driver. The shipper still cares about their problems, not just your background. Your trucking experience gives you credibility, but your value is how you use that experience to make the shipper's life easier. Don't say I was a driver, so give me a shot. Say, because I've been on the carrier side, I know how to prevent a lot of these communications and service issues that frustrate shippers. This is a much stronger message. If I were a truck driver thinking about becoming a freight broker today, here's what I'd do. First, I'd keep earning while I learn. Second, I'd decide whether broker or agent is the better path. Third, I would pick a niche instead of trying to be everything to everybody. Fourth, I would build a list of shippers, not just carriers. Fifth, I would practice sales conversations every day. Sixth, I would learn carrier vetting and risk management. And seventh, I would give myself realistic expectations. This is not a get-rich-quick business. It's a skill-based business. The better you get, the more value you become. Now, I don't want this video to scare you away from becoming a freight broker. That's not the point. In fact, I think truck drivers can make excellent freight brokers. You understand the business in a way many people don't. You understand what happens after the load gets booked. You understand the pain points. You understand the mistakes brokers make. And you understand what good communications looks like because you've probably experienced bad communications more times than you can count. That is valuable. But you need to respect the new skill set. You're not just changing jobs jobs, you're entering a different side of the business. So before you quit trucking to become a freight broker, slow down, get educated, build a plan, learn the difference between a driver, a broker, and an agent. Learn how to get shippers, learn how to sell, learn how to manage risk, and transition like a business owner, not like somebody trying to escape a job. Okay, so if you're serious about becoming a freight broker, freight agent, the next best step is to understand the process before you start spending money or making big decisions. That's why I created a free cheat sheet called How to Become a Freight Broker in 7 Simple Steps. It walks you through the basic steps you need to understand if you want to get started right away. That's freightbrokerbootcamp.com/7 steps. And if you're a truck driver watching this, remember this. You may already have more experience than you realize, but now you need the right plan, the right training, the right sales skills to turn that experience into a real business. So download the free cheat sheet, start learning the process, and before you quit trucking, make sure you understand exactly what you're moving into. If you found this video helpful, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below telling me why you're thinking about becoming a freight broker. I'll see you in the next video.